Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the August 30th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everybody.
And we have another amazing lineup again this week. So we have a couple of announcements at the top of the show. And one is about our book club kickback on September 13th. The book that we are reading and discussing for that night is The Exodus by Brandon Massey. So if you haven't gotten your copy yet or downloaded it, feel free to do so you can participate in the discussion. We'll have several book clubs on screen talking about the book along with the author himself. He'll be on with us. And the National Black Book Festival is going to be awesome. It's only 8 weeks away. Can you believe it? And it's been 3 years since we've been in person. So it's going to be exciting. We're excited. And those of you who are connected with us got the newsletter this week. So you got an update about what's happening. If you don't get the newsletter, you can sign up for it on nationalblackbookfestival.com. In the middle, just scroll down and you'll see the thing to sign up for the newsletter. So we have 3 books to give away, but we're going to do them after this first interview. And our first guest is the incomparable, amazing, and multi-published author, Beverly Jenkins herself. So she has a new book that just came out last Tuesday called To Catch a Raven. And we're excited to have her back on Black Authors Matter TV. She was with us last year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was last year. So we're happy to have you back again.
Thank you for inviting me back. This is always exciting.
Yeah. How's your first week been since your book release?
Oh, girl, that's been crazy.
That's a good thing. Those are good problems to have.
It is, but when you get to be a woman of a certain age and you're running all over the country and and I had 2 back-to-back signings this weekend. And I haven't had a in-store signing in 3 years. So
right.
I had to get my road warrior chops back and all that, but they were very successful and the readers were glad to see me and I was glad to see them. So then I came home and fell out. So
I can relate to it from a recent trip I had. I can relate.
I'm still trying to get over my trips, so I understand.
Rhonda and I were on the same trip, so we were at the same location in Philadelphia with the Zeta Phi Beta Boule, and so we had an author booth, and it was great as far as response and all that, but just I hadn't traveled like that with books.
Yeah.
In ever really. Not that many books.
And
it's just the whole thing. It's a lot.
It's a lot, and you gotta get back into the rhythm, because I had to go to New York City the end of July, which was my first flight in 3 years, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do this anymore. I used to live in airports.
Are very different.
Yeah, they are. And they have redone LaGuardia, which is where I usually fly in because it's an easy in and out. Girl, I don't know what they did with that Delta arm, but it was like walking from here to Houston, and no place to sit down, and and I'm like, I am way too old for this.
Yes,
but managed it and got there and did my little gig and came home, and fell out.
I think all the airports are like that now.
Yeah.
And the
yeah.
airlines. I think Delta might be worse than some others. I hear more about Delta than I do.
Well, that's the only airline I fly. And I have never had an issue with them. In fact, I was such a road warrior that, I don't know, it must have been 5 years ago, 6 years ago, me and a group of the ladies went to Hawaii, and I had so many frequent flyer miles that my ticket was $14. So I'm like, okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna keep flying Delta,
Yes,
So,
I love that. I
Well,
paid
you
$5 for a flight and didn't know what to do with myself.
oh, I
yeah,
know, I know, I
you
know.
get with the one that works here. Where I'm in Houston, United is the best one because they have a lot of nonstop from Houston to just about everywhere, and
Yeah.
they're really the only ones who do nonstop all the time. I mean, to every destination. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, let's get into your book, your new book, To Catch a Raven. Now, I looked it up, and it looked like it was hardcover. Did I miss? Did I? It's a
Yeah,
hard.
it is. Well, it is hardcover. Well, it's in all formats. It's in
Okay.
hardcover. It is paperback. It's audio.
Yes, audio.
Everything that no matter how you take in your stories, I got it for you. But yeah, I was pleased with because they sent me the boxes, because it's in your author copies, and they sent me 2 boxes. One was a small box, and one was a big box. I'm like, why is this box so heavy? And when I opened it up, it had the hardcovers in it.
Well,
So
that's a nice surprise.
it really is. It really is. I
And
knew
they
that they
don't.
were offering when they did the pre-orders, they had hardcovers, in
Okay, well,
the
they don't
queues.
normally release the hardcover and the paperback simultaneously.
No, they don't, but
So
they
they
did for
normally
me.
wait a
So
year in between. That's unusual.
mhm,
So they're giving
yeah.
people choices. They can do, and
Well,
I'm
when
sure.
it's Beverly Jenkins, they can go ahead and make certain allowances.
Well, I guess, it's a blessing, whatever reason, it was a blessing. So
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 tell
I'm
us about
pleased.
the story.
Well, it is book 3 and the final book in the Women Who Dare series. They are all standalone, so you don't have to read,
Okay.
one in order to read the other 3.
Okay.
But I wanted to get something light because my last couple of books have been, kind of heavy. And so this is a crazy, it's a heist, it's a lot of fun. But it's a woman who is a grifter, and her whole family is swindlers and con men and thieves and all of that. And it's set in New Orleans. And
Yes.
she is blackmailed by a Pinkerton agent into
Mm.
going undercover to recover a stolen copy of the Declaration of Independence. And on this trip, she has to pretend to be married to this guy who is straight laced. He has never jaywalked. He's like, why am I here? But they're pretending to be married because her mom and his dad were an item when they were young. So they're off to the races to go to Charleston to deal with this and fighting along the way. And she thinks he's useless because he ain't never stole nothing. And he thinks she's, whatever, because, she steals everything. So, they're bumping heads. And of course, eventually the sparks turn into real sparks.
Yeah, they start
And
bumping the uglies, I guess.
yeah.
Right.
When he proves to be
Well,
not as
that's
straight
how
laced as
Beverly.
she thought.
Yeah, Beverly always builds her stories. She makes you wait. Some books you read, which I don't generally like to read these kind, but like the first page, they have the people, somebody's legs are open. I mean, they don't even give you a
Right.
build
Yeah.
up or anything.
Right.
Beverly gives you a build up.
I love the build up. I mean,
She gives
you
you
don't
the
just
build.
jump in. Well, some people,
Right.
but I like the build up.
Yeah. The slow burn. That's what we call it in
Right.
romance. The slow burn.
Right.
Yeah.
She
So
lets
they
you learn about the characters. Your character development is excellent
well,
in
thank you.
every book
Thank
of
you.
yours I've read. I haven't read
Thank
them
you.
all, but I've read a lot of them.
Yeah, it's almost it's over 50 now. I'm like, Jesus. But I had
Well,
fun with it.
congratulations for
Thank
that.
you. The readers are loving it. They're having fun with it. which is the most important thing.
Mhm.
Great reviews coming down.
Good.
So so I'm too scared to complain. So you start complaining, God give you stuff to complain about. So I'm
Right.
just grateful to still be doing this after 28, 29 years. So
Right.
yeah, having a
Mhm.
And,
I
and
think I
since you've
asked
been,
you the last time you were here about how you were able to come up with the ideas for your stories, and then you're able to come up with them one after the other, and not one is exactly like the last.
yeah, you try and give give your readers a different flavor, at least I do. But they just show up. I know I have writing friends who say they have a hard time, coming up with stories that are different or just stories in general. And I got stuff backed up, as I've said, like planes over, Detroit. I don't know, maybe I should start selling my ideas to some of the
That's not a bad idea.
some of the other writers, because I don't seem to have that issue, which is a blessing.
that is.
But I'm having a good time. I really, and still, after almost 30 years, still having a good time.
That's wonderful. Janice Kearney said that you have a gift. What a gift you have, Beverly Jenkins.
Well, I think it is a gift. I mean, we're all gifted with something. Some of us are gifted singers, some of us are gifted parents, some of us are gifted house cleaners, and this just happens to be mine. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where these stories come from. They just sort of, like I said, just show up. But I thank her for those kind words, because my readers mean the world to me, because without them I wouldn't be here.
Amen.
So
Right.
I try to be very, very conscious of that and deal with them in that way. So mhm.
Now this character, you normally your female characters, and I haven't read every single book, but
Mhm.
of the books I've read,
Mhm.
your female characters are normally honorable women.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
And
so
she, and
this
she
she
is
tend to
she's
be
honorable in how she deals with her family and how she deals with herself, but not honorable in her job.
Mhm.
But as you read the story, you find out why. This was
okay.
this is a setup that has come down through the family for a reason. So I'm not going to give you a
Right.
spoiler. I'm just going to
Right.
tell you, and I've had, I was when I was at the signing on Sunday, one of my longtime readers said, well, I didn't like her. She steals. And I'm like, I was like, okay, I understand. And she said, but then when I found out why, she said, I guess I was a little bit more, forgiving. And I was like, well, we ain't all the same.
Right.
We're not all the same. So, and some of us are descendants from grandmas who had cat houses in the South, or some of us are descendants from con men. Some of us are descendants of preachers. So it all depends on who the characters are when they come to me. But usually, you're right, Gwen. They are very, very honorable
Yeah, the
women.
woman is like the high-minded one, and the
Yeah.
man she meets may or may not be.
Right.
Well, I think that says something else about the character development, that your characters are able to evoke that type of emotion from their readers, from your
Yeah.
readers.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you can, because with the last book, which was Wild Rain, we had a heroine that didn't want kids. And the conversation that we had at book club, because I've got, three different pages on Facebook, and we meet together and have book club. And the conversation on that was so interesting, because they were like, well, why didn't she want to have kids? And the women who have chosen to be kidless were like, not everybody want kids. So it's a great conversation. And like you said, to be able to have characters that get people talking about, those kinds of things that the character represents, I think it's a good thing. So yeah, but this
Absolutely.
one wants to have babies, so the ones that were mad last time will be satisfied this time, hopefully. So we'll see.
Okay. So I have a question. Do you write to satisfy your readers or to satisfy yourself? Or is it a
I
little
write
bit
to
of
satisfy
both?
myself. Well, it's a little
Okay.
bit of both, but mostly I write the story I want to read, because
Okay.
what did Toni Morrison said, if there's a story out there that you want to read and it's not out there, then it's
Yes.
on you to
Write that
write it.
story.
So
Mhm.
I write for me. And when I started out, I was writing for me. I wasn't writing for publication. I sort of stumbled into this. So I'm still writing the stories I want to read that I would have loved to have read growing up, because being a woman of a certain age, I mean, there were no stories in the marketplace for women who looked like us, especially not romance. So I'm just, feeding my own Jones and writing these stories.
Do you think that helps you to stay true to yourself when you write what you like to read?
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, I think the readers know when you're phoning it in
Yes.
or when you're not being, or you're writing to trend, when it's all vampires and you want to write vampires, when it's all, no, I don't do that. I write what feeds my spirit, takes into account the blessings of the ancestors
Yes.
and what they have done for us to be in this place that we are right now. So it's for me. I'm selfish and shameless and all that other stuff. So
At least you admit it.
Yeah,
hey,
it's,
own your stuff.
it's good that you write for yourself and you have thousands of people who read it like
Yes.
consistently
Yeah,
what you're writing
it's a blessing.
because you like writing. And how do you keep your work from? Because I find this happens not with all writers, but some writers, it becomes formulaic. It
Yeah,
becomes so much of a formula that the soul of the story is lost.
yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, I write for me, but readers will let you know when your stuff is not up to whatever bar you have set.
Right.
And you have set a high bar.
Well,
I've
go ahead.
never read a bad book by you.
Oh, well,
Now, if
thank
I
you.
had read a bad book by someone on the show, I wouldn't say that I did. But
Right.
but I have never read a book by you that wasn't good, that wasn't
Yeah.
above average.
Yeah.
The writing, the storytelling. I love the way you weave actual history into the storyline of the books you write. I love that because
Right.
and you weave in real history that people
Yeah.
can go research themselves after the fact.
Yeah. And then, that's why I put the bibliography in the backs of the books. As Oprah says, knowledge is power.
Yes.
But if you don't share that knowledge, the only person who's powerful is you.
Right.
So I put the biblis in the back so that, like you said, people who want to do, more research don't have to sit around and wonder, well, where did she get this? How do I find it? And if you make it easy for them to find it, they can pass it on to their kids and their, sorority sisters or, or their husbands or sisters or whatever. So you want to empower everybody. You don't want to be the only person strutting around knowing what happened to the Massachusetts 54th or Harriet Tubman's spy ring or, or Bass Reeves out in Indian Territory. You want to share that knowledge. Well, and one of my favorite stories, one of my ladies, my readers, her grandson had to do a Black history paper. And, in the schools, ain't but 5 people in Black history. So
Right.
he he did
Martin Luther
It's
King.
91.
right, 5 people, right?
Yeah.
So he did, and I don't remember what subject he did, but anyway, the teacher was so fascinated, and she asked him, "Where did you get this information?" And he said very proudly, "My grandmama's Miss Bell books." And she was like, "What?" So grandma had passed that knowledge that she got from my books to her grandson, for him to do this great paper that I'm sure he got an A on. And the teacher was like, "What the hell is this? Where'd you?" So
Yeah, so it helps her learn a few things.
right, exactly.
Teachers don't know everything,
No, they don't.
They know what they know, but they don't know everything.
Yeah.
So now this series is called Women Who Dare. Did you name
Mhm.
it that, or did the publisher name it that?
My editor did, but when we talked about it, we said, all of the women that I write about dare. So we just decided to go with that because series now, everybody's into series and giving the series a name and all of that. So I just sort of said, okay, whatever. But yeah, my women have always dared. I mean, from the first book, Carol Lee and Night Song to Vivid and the Black female doctors to Jessie Rose with her ranch down in Texas.
Oh, say Texas again.
In Texas. And I really, really would love, that's one of my favorite books. And I would so love a movie of that because I've already cast Taraji P. Henson as Jessie Rose in that book. I can just see her.
That would be amazing.
Because when we meet Jessie, that first scene, she's standing on the roof of our house. It's nighttime, the moon is behind her, and girlfriend got a rifle in her hand. And when the guy drives, she said, "What the hell are you doing on my land? What are you doing here?" So I can just see, Taraji would be a great Jessie Rose, great rancher lady from Texas. So
have any of your books been optioned?
Yeah, Sony optioned Forbidden. We had a green light, we had a showrunner, all of that. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And everybody sort of scattered to the four winds. So they kept it for a little while longer, but the rights have now reverted back to me. Al Roker has optioned the Blessing series, which is my small town contemporary series.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly they are in negotiations with, one of the online groups, but we're waiting for paperwork and all of that. And our fingers are crossed, and hopefully it will be done well if they're really going to do it. But those are the only two so far, but hey, whoever thought I'd, this little colored girl from the east side of Detroit would be here. So, if it's going to happen, it'll happen. If not, I'm going to keep writing. So
exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what the future.
A lot of people don't realize just because something's optioned doesn't mean you'll see it.
It's going to get made. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a thrill to say it's been optioned, but until it's actually been green lit, there's a difference.
And green lit and done.
Yes. It has to be done.
Yeah, you can even shoot the whole movie and then it'll still sit there. So just wait until you see it on TV.
Yeah, that's what happened with the Catwoman movie. They finished it and then pulled it.
Yeah, that's true. So it would be wonderful to see at least one of your books though on any screen. Now we have more options than just the big screen, because that used to be your only option. But now, you have other avenues, Netflix, Hulu's doing films, and Paramount, Disney.
So you're right. I agree. We'll see.
Now, I did want to tell you, there was one comment on here. I'm trying to go back to it. Oh, Liz Dove. She
Mhm.
said that you should do a master class because you have so much to offer.
Oh, I thank her for that. That's very kind. I do occasionally, people ask me, if I will, do a chat on this or chat on that or chat on this or chat on that. And I try and do it as often as I'm asked, because a lot of times, especially authors of color, we don't get the craft stuff, how to put the stuff together, what to look for, what are the underpinnings of the story.
Yes.
And, and I try and be as helpful as I can whenever I'm asked. So, and usually I don't charge them anything. I got enough people giving me money who got money.
Oh, don't
So
say that out loud. They're gonna be pounding your door down now.
no. My agent is the bulldog. They
Oh,
gotta go
okay.
through her. And she is a lot less, I don't know, I don't know what the word is, than I am. She will tell you, and you're gonna pay me this, and you're gonna, we're gonna do that. And no, Beverly's not involved because Beverly will say yes. But so I got somebody at my back.
All right now.
Yeah. Then someone else said, where was it? Oh, I love Beverly Jenkins. What a treat to listen to this interview now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
I'm
And
always
there was
grateful.
someone else. What's the name of the book we're talking about? Okay. It's
I just
called.
put the link in the
Okay.
in the chat, but the name of the book is To Catch a Raven, and it's only been out since August 23rd and already has 214 reviews.
Yeah. It came
Wow.
out on
Kill
Tuesday.
it.
Yeah,
It
it's
came
been
out on
out
Tuesday.
1 week. That's
Yeah, 1
amazing.
week. So we'll see whether it makes any lists or not. Because they only count that first week. So, and even if not, I know my readers are having just a great time with it. Great time with it. Because it's
Well,
so much fun.
I can't wait
Amen.
to read it. So,
Mhm.
well, we're at the end of our time, but we want to encourage people to go out and get a copy of To Catch a Raven, or you have my personal recommendation to read any of Beverly Jenkins' books that are in print.
Oh, thank you.
You won't be disappointed. They are all really, really good, well written. You can dive into them. They're page turners. I've never read a slow book by you either. You build
No.
it up, but it moves, and that's the
Right,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah, I won't be putting you to sleep.
No. No.
And this book is the latest in the Women Who Dare series.
Right.
And they're all standalone, so you
They
don't
are
have
all
to feel like you have to
standalone.
read them in order.
No, you don't have to read them in order. You can start with book 3, you can start with book 2, you can start with book 1, and jump around if you want. Okay.
Okay. Well, Beverly, thank you so much for
Yes, this has
Thank you.
definitely been a treat.
and
Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
back.
thank you for having me, and hopefully you'll invite me back again.
oh,
You
we
ladies
will.
have
We'll be looking out for your next release.
all right. Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
And you as
Okay,
well.
you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we said that we were going to give away our 3 books after the first interview, and then we're going to bring on our next guest, who is Nina Foxx, and she has a new book out as well. So we have 3 books to give away tonight, so we are going to get started with our trivia questions. Our first book is called Mika in Real Life. This is the BIPOC series that HarperCollins is doing. So the BIPOC. So at any rate, the question on this book is, the main character's name is Mika. Which Asian country are her parents from? So my light is kind of giving me a...
Mary is mad. She says she's driving.
So she can't win a book.
Somebody else
Okay, well,
might
you
be able
can't
to
win
win
it. Wait. What country are Mika's parents from? The main character in this book, which is called Mika in Real Life. The author's name is Emiko Jean. So if you answer that, you get that book. This next book is by Ben Jealous. He used to be either with the NACP or the Urban League or something. But anyway, he has a new book coming out. This book comes out in December, actually. So this is a advanced reading copy.
All right.
It's called Never Forget Our People Were Always Free by Ben Jealous. And the trivia question for this book is, name one of the political leaders featured in this book. And all the trivia questions come from the synopsis. So, and did someone answer already?
Well, okay. So in fairness, one person answered, and technically she was right, but she only said a city. She didn't say the country. And then Yolanda Gore came behind her and gave the actual country.
Okay, it is the country.
Yes.
The country. So for this first book, the country is Japan, and Yolanda Gore won that one.
Yes. And Mary Evans, you pulled over and gave us the wrong answer.
There's more than one country, one Asian country that it could have been. Okay, now the last book. We've given away 2 of these, and this is the last one. The publisher sent us 3 copies of The 2 Lives of Sarah. So the tribute by Catherine Adele West, she'll be on the show next month. And the trivia question, romance blooms between Sarah, the main character, and what local school teacher? What's the school teacher's name? And if you get that, you get this book. Okay, that's it. So we have one that someone won, and we'll find out the other 2 after the interview with Nina Foxx, because we want to bring Nina on. So Nina has been on the show before, but it's been a while since she's been on. I think she was on the first in 2020.
Yeah, she was on a while back.
She was on the first year of the show. And Nina has a new book out called Island Secrets. And Nina's doing all kinds of stuff. So she's going to tell us about her writing summit, as well as the new book that's come out. Do you have a copy of the book? And welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thanks for having me. I actually don't have a copy of my book because I am not at my house. I am.
Okay.
I'm in Mexico, but so I don't. I don't
okay.
have a copy of my book.
Well, are you about to go out somewhere, because you are looking fierce?
No, this is a filter. I've been having digital meetings so long for work that I have designed some filters that I use. I
am not mad at you.
You know, Nina is tech, so
yes,
she has all kind of little.
The bad part is when I see my coworkers in person, they may not recognize me.
I love that. Okay, you just gave me some ideas. I don't know anything about tech, but I'm going to sure try.
So, well, tell us about Island Secrets, the book. I like the cover that you had for it, because it has a young lady like standing like in the islands. You can tell she's in an island setting. So,
yep. So Island Secrets is the first book of the Queens of Kiowa series. And it takes place in Kiowa Island, which is a barrier island off the coast of South Carolina. And if people are not familiar with that area, a lot of those islands, ships wrecked, slaves, people who were enslaved escaped to them. A lot of people moved there, stayed there, and have developed a whole different culture. But now what's happened, some of them were actually plantations. Kiowa Island was a plantation. But now what's happened is it's been turned into a resort. So it has golf courses and all sorts of things. And as we do, the book centers on a group of women and their families who have moved back to the South. You know, their families may have had origins in the South, but they are, ended up in the North like a lot of us, and have had their careers and really are captains of industry. And so based on a group of real life women that I knew, I was just inspired by everything they were doing, not just the moving back and buying vacation homes, but the idea that, they were just living their lives and doing their things in this beautiful place and reclaiming this land as their own. So it centers on one woman, her name is Denise, who, as far as she knew, she and her husband had a summer home there from Chicago, but her husband disappeared about a year ago, and there's no body or anything And she wants to solve the mystery of where he is, and is really intrigued because, first of all, if there's no body, there's no insurance money. He can't really be declared dead. But he ran a company in Chicago, and one of the things that happened was they find out that the feds are investigating because not only did he disappear, but the 401k money for his company disappeared too. So she
Wow.
wants to figure out where he is, where all these people that work for them, their retirement, and she uncovers a whole bunch of things about him and their life there that she had no idea was happening.
Now
Oh,
that's a lot of layers in that story. It sounds like there's something going on every time you turn the page. I like those types of stories.
The reviews, people have said that they felt like there was a lot going on in a positive way and that they were surprised at the ending. But one of the things that, aside from this group of women, and I've been there, they invited me there many times to Kiawah Island. It's just a great place for a mystery. It was very intriguing. I was almost overwhelmed by the history of the place. You feel like there's so much going on. And so I wanted to make the place as much a character as the people. And so that's one of the things I was striving for. But then also the idea that this woman, her husband has disappeared and she knows nothing about their money and what he did. So it's like, is anybody ever who you think they are? And two, just focusing on the idea of fiscal responsibility and knowledge for women. And the idea that we as Black people need to understand estate planning and know the things that we need to do. Because she's done none of that. Of course, it's a fictional story and all of those. She just got to figure it out. But that happens for real. People don't know where the money is.
Oh, that's absolutely a cautionary tale. Being former military myself, it was really sad during the war years when so many soldiers were getting killed overseas, and then their spouses weren't even able to collect the insurance because the soldiers never changed the insurance from their mother to their spouse after they were married. They just kept putting it off. So, I mean, that's a true story right there.
Right. So it's lots of twists and turns, and I'm hoping that people read it. It's for everybody, let me say that. But I think that it's full of our culture. So if you read it and your family was ever part of the migration from the South to the North and now reverse migration, or maybe the idea of being somewhere else and returning to somewhere where your family was before, and the gentrification that happens and how it's changed with people moving in and how that affects you as a person, I wanted us to feel that.
okay. Now, did you go visit the island to write the book? Or were you going from previous memories of being there?
So I've been there many, many times. So let's just say that.
Okay.
I mean, we're going every year. And so now I'm actually working on the next book. And I told my husband, I said, we need to go to Kiawah so I can feel the space. So one of the things that inspired it, one of the first times I went, they took me to a restaurant. It opens in the beginning chapters. They go to this restaurant that's in a cove on the water. It's basically a shack. And it was on diners, drive-ins, and dives, diners, and drive-ins. Right.
Yeah, I watched
so
that.
Right, that was a real place. And so when I was stood there in this cove and the willow trees are hanging over the water and the water's still and there's this gravel parking lot, I stood outside and I was like, there's so much that happened here. And I really said this. And so my friend that I said this to talks about it to this day. I said, I could just imagine the boat, there's a woman under the water and her hair is caught in the anchor of that boat and no one knows. And she looked at me, she said, you kind of crazy, huh? Well, and then years ago, my husband and I worked with this one guy. Every time we worked with him, it was out of the country. So he was, and if you've read any of my work at Cinnamon Foster, one of them that takes place in France, one of the people, an American, has a consulting firm in France, and that was him. Well, one day he just disappeared, like gone. And we didn't know, because we would only see him periodically, like when I was a consultant, and I see him when we were going to China or going to France or going to someplace like that. My husband got a call and they said, well, have you seen this person or heard from him? We were like, no, why? Because he disappeared and the 401k money was gone. I was like, wow. So that mystery was, and it wasn't like Joe just decided he's not talking to you anymore and he's moving away. This man had a family an upstanding member of the community. His wife owned a well-known business in the community. He had children that he doted on, and he was just gone. So for years, we've been trying to figure out where did he go. We searched the internet, and it was at the time remember when everybody was using Foursquare and you check in on
Right.
places. So he was a master of Foursquare and using LinkedIn. He was all over social media. It was just gone. It just stopped. I was like, so do you think he's dead? What could have happened? Because that's like a withdrawal thing. If you said to me, Nina, no more tweeting, it would take a minute. It's like, don't eat the chocolate cookie. You know what I mean? So how could he just disappear? And so we never knew about it. We never figured out what happened to him. And the 401k money was really missing. We still don't know to this day.
I thought you were going to tell us that,
No.
it wound up being such and such. You never found out.
Never found out. So just standing in this cove and the idea of this person disappearing and a couple of other things that happened, it just felt like it belonged in Kiowa. Because we imagined that since he spoke French, had a French passport and a US passport, and he had a company in France, that he was in some French, like he was in Tahiti or something. And he was just gone. So I was like, where is he? So you have to read the book to know what happened to the man in the book. Totally different than the man in real life. But those things just went together in my head.
Now, when he disappeared, was it prior to, now they have the facial recognition where they can pretty much follow you everywhere.
No.
Was it prior to that?
No.
It was since the facial recognition software?
Yes.
Oh,
Well, the
but
thing is,
you can
you don't
change your
have to
appearance.
do you don't have to do facial recognition in certain situations. You can opt out to of doing it, so he doesn't have to use it.
So it's funny, technology, because that's kind of what I do, really is a part of the book. Like the thing that they're building, it's all kind of intertwined in there. And when I was speaking in Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago, and someone came to a talk, asked me about the thing that they were building. And I was like, I think this thing does exist, and you have to read the book to know, but I think the company that's building it owes me some money because I wrote this before they did that.
Well, I was going to ask you, I know you said you've been to the island a number of times, but just listening to all of the layers in your story, did it take a lot of research to really put this story together?
I think it did. Yes, it did. It took research, but the story had to come together. It was like backwards math, right? So I knew where we were going. I knew where it started, and I had to make all the pieces kind of fit together. It's also the first time I've written anything that's leaned toward cozy mystery. So I also did some research on craft and what were the elements of a cozy mystery? Like, what did it need to look like? Because there's no real blood and gore. There's some other things. I was like, yeah, I guess this is what it is. So it took some research there on how did this need to come together?
One of the elements of a cozy mystery.
Right.
We had a guest on several months ago where we talked at length about what is a cozy mystery. I forgot what guest it was because I didn't know you were going to talk about cozy mysteries. Otherwise, I would have tried to look it up. But we talked. I think they said all of them have a dog or a pet in them.
They do have a pet. She has a pet.
Okay.
And I was writing this not knowing that's what I was doing, and then I stopped in the middle of a book on how to write a cozy mystery. So she does have a pet. It's usually a female, not professional person trying to solve the mystery, and usually often the reason is because it's not just about I want to know, but what's the greater good. In this case, the greater good is she wants to figure out what happened to the 401k money, because that's people's retirement money and it's gone. So those are some of the elements, and you don't necessarily see the whole bunch of blood and guts. So that somebody's dead.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily see it. So that's the thing. I've read some actually though where the murder actually happens, if it's a murder that they're solving, during the book. And this one, it starts with a missing person that's been missing a long time. So that's a little difference. That's it.
Now, which book is this number? Which book is this for you?
21. It's the 21st publication. I thought it was 18, but then I was corrected by someone else. I said, yeah, because I also wrote under a different name. I wrote erotic suspense, or erotic espionage, as one of my writer friends called it, under a different name. So it's 21. There are 2 more books in the series. I'm working on the second now, but then I actually stuck in another book that will be out for Christmas, and it is a guided journal. So it'll be out November 15th. It's called Unapologetic, Guided Journal for Black Women
Oh,
with prompts for self-discovery, creativity, and something else. It's a long title.
that
But
sounds like something I need to have in my life.
yeah.
I need that.
So November 15th, and that is like I'm actually a psychologist by trade. I work technically as an engineering psychologist, but that and a yoga teacher. And one of the
You have
things
a
when I
lot of
started,
lives.
I do all the same time, which is why it's like, oh, I'm so crazy. But
Yeah, and you've been to all the continents.
I have been
Did you
all
tell
the
me
time.
that? Because I saw
Right.
your photos when you went to Antarctica.
Yeah, my
You
husband
know?
and I went to Antarctica. I think it's like 5 years now. It's like
Yeah.
because 2 years was the pandemic, and we were supposed to like start again, and the pandemic derailed us, but differently because when we went to Africa, we were very intrigued by some of the things we saw, and we were going to take a family trip to Senegal, but the pandemic put it on hold. So
Mhm.
we have to figure that out.
The
Yeah.
pandemic put things on hold, but it didn't stop it because people are coming back even stronger now.
I think we're finding ways to live with
Yes.
masks. I mean, that's what we do now. We have a mask, and you feel it's almost like now you feel uncovered in a crowd. You're like, wait, where's my mask? You feel, at
Well,
least I do.
I think this is a good time to really jump into your writer's summit because those retreats were things that kind of went away when COVID first started. And they're starting to come back now. And so now
That's right.
your summit is coming back.
Right. So I created the Writing Sisters Summit. It was actually in 2019 was the first one. So the Writing Sisters Summit, the idea was, well, back in the day, 21 books ago when I first started, you'd go on tour and you go to these places and you'd see other writers on the way and you would learn things from them and ask questions, and because you worked by yourself most of the time as a writer. And so, and then Paige Turner used to run a summit for book clubs in the
Yes.
summit at sea. And that was really about the readers, but I really liked when you came together and that whole camaraderie. You were like, okay, I see why I'm doing this. And then over the years, I got all these questions about writing. And for a while, it felt like there was all of those people that were published in 99, 2000, 2001. You felt like there was no one behind you. And you would get these questions just from, random strangers or, writers to be that wanted to know, well, how did you do this? And so I came up with the idea for the summit. The idea was I would invite my writing sisters to come together, and it was Thursday through Sunday, and we'd have a number of faculty, like 4. We'd have a writing retreat, and it would be small, to help create community, to share some knowledge, and help people learn from one another. So the first year was in 2019. We were the Writing Sisters Summit at Sea. We were very small, but it was great. Learned some things there. Figured out I didn't want to be at sea every year for a lot of reasons, because it's really hard to go to a writing seminar where people are asking you to do spontaneous writing exercises and you're hungover. So that was kind of
It can make some interesting stories.
So in 2020, we were set to go to Taos, New Mexico, and we were shut down because of the pandemic, of course. But we came back in 2021, and we did go to Taos, New Mexico with different faculty. It was great. It was like the first, you arrived, you kind of bonded. The first day was about, and by then I'd become a yoga teacher. So I was really focusing on also the mind-body connection, like how your creativity is affected by your thoughts, your feelings, and a lot of that you focus on when you're meditation and yoga. So we start the day with yoga, meditation, short. I had a certified in chair or assistive yoga too. So I had some people in chairs, some people on the floor. Everybody had different experiences. Often we don't feel welcome in those places. So it was just a gentle introduction. The first day was about the writing itself and craft. You'd have 2 seminars in writing time. And in the evening, we would have readings around the fire because it was in New Mexico. The next day was about the business of writing. I got a lot of questions about how do you write a book? How do you do that? But then just the questions like, what's a copyright? How does that work? So in Taos, we had one woman who was a lawyer, and that was her specialty, to talk to people about when you publish a book, the the business things, the legal things that go along with that, whether you're self-publishing or going with a publisher, things about rights and what does that mean? What now you have a book, how do you market it? Because a lot of people think if you write it, they will come, and we know that's not true.
Right. No,
So,
that's
so
not
we
the way
got-
any of it
that's
works.
not the way it works. And so this year, we're the Writing Sisters Summit in the Hills. We're going to be in the Poconos at the Himalayan Institute, which is, it's actually an ashram that's hosting us. I also was able to get a grant from a nonprofit that had a similar goal. So we were able to give a couple of scholarships this year, which is awesome. So people who wanted to come and maybe couldn't afford it, we were able to help, that's kind of great. I'm happy about it. And this year's faculty, other than myself, we have Donna Hill, which I'm really excited about. Donna actually stepped in at the last minute. We had Sheila Williams, and Sheila Wilson wrote Dancing on the Edge of the Roof. It was a movie called, the movie was not called that, but it had Alfred Woodard in it.
Okay.
I remember in a minute. But she had a death in her family, and this was just recently, so Donna was able to step in. We also have Alma Davenport Person, who is an award-winning playwright, and she's going to talk to us about the things that novelists can borrow from the stage, like how to write dialogue, work, and things like that. We have, see, this is bad.
But there's so much going on, you can't remember everything. This sounds like an amazing summit.
It's going to be amazing. We have, one of the things that I learned in doing this is last year we had a minister, because so many people are writing from the place of pain, and they want to write about trauma that they've been to. We struggle with so much we talk about people in corporate America struggle with imposter syndrome. Writers do too, because you're like, am I good enough? Is it, who am I writing for? All those things, emotions you feel when you release a book. So we deal with that too. So last year we had a minister, and she's been on a lot of my podcasts because she's just hilarious. But this year she was not available. So we have Dr. Monique Dawkins, and this actually what she does. She's a life coach and career coach, and she's going to talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone. And then we also have Delonda Coleman. She wrote children's books and great representation of little girls of color in her books. And but one of the things that Delonda brings is that she is also a marketing expert. That's her day job for a major company. And so she's going to talk about some of the things that she does with her books, but also marketing and why it's important in different ways. A lot of people are very confused about all of the social platforms that are happening and don't understand why they're so important, or even how to jump in. I think that's everybody, because it's 4 of us. And yeah, so during the summit, people get to ask, and you can find out about that by going to the website, which is writingsisterssummit.com, or from my website, ninafoxx.com.
So when is it? When is the summit?
It's October 13th.
Is it too late to sign up?
I think we had a cancellation, so it's not too late to sign up, and you can go, but you'd have to pay in full. So go and sign up, and especially it's easy to get to for people that are on the East Coast. Not everybody is, I'm not. So looking forward to it, but I will say this, being there at that summit puts you in the front seat for next year's summit. So I'm going to announce where the summit is next year on the last night of this year's summit. Next year will be very special. It will have an extra day, and all I will say is you will need a passport.
Ooh, passports.
You need a passport.
So is there a cap on the number of people that you allow to be in the summit?
It's 15 to 18 people, that's it, because it's supposed to be intimate.
Right.
And you're sharing, and it's easier to create a community when everybody is in the clique. So every year, the people do sign up and say, this is my goal for writing this year. I check in with them mid-year to see how they're doing. So 6 months after October, they get a check-in.
So you stay in touch with them. It's not just, okay, the summit is done, see you next year.
Nope. And because of that, I think that's why we have so many people that are returning. So we have a number of people that are returning. I want to say this is their third one. So they've been there every year.
Very nice.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our time, but I wanted you to just reflect on the other group of things that you do, which is plays and films.
Sure.
Just give us like an encapsulated version of what Nina does in that realm.
I also write for stage. I create, and wherever the medium is, that is where I'm feeling that day. So I'm currently a writer in residence at Brownsville Productions, which is a theater company, a regional theater company on the West Coast. I wrote a play called Rarefied Air. It's my third play, but it's the first one that was not based on a book. So we had several readings, and we're next going to have an industry reading. So that means in between each reading, I rewrite. It's like editing for plays. But the industry reading is to see what theater company will put it into their lineup for the season. And it is the story of a Black family in Seattle during the pandemic, whose young daughter is struggling with everything that she's lost. And they're in the midst of the civil unrest when George Floyd was killed. So, their daughter is a senior in high school. So if you think about all of those things that were lost that you can never get back, and how that impacts the family, and how we all thought when suddenly everybody was woke because we saw somebody murdered on television.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if it's in the paper, it's far away. You know, we hear about it, but if he was murdered on television, and how that made all of us, Black middle class, who've been striving for the American dream, rethink what that dream meant to them. That's what the play is about.
It sounds powerful.
So is it like how many people? Is it like just a family? It's like
a family. So there's 3 characters in the family, but there's also a ring girl, like a fight ring girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 4 characters total. And I have kids. So I have one daughter who's a senior in high school in 2020, and one who was a senior in college in 2020, and just seeing their emotions and all of the things that they lost. And listening to all the people around me saying, no, I'm not going to do diversity work because that's not my job. That's not what I do. It's your time to do the work, is what laid the seed for this work.
Okay. Well, Nina, let people know how they can get a copy of Island Secrets or any of your other books.
So any of my books are available wherever books are sold, but you can go to Amazon, you can go to your favorite local bookseller. I'm a fan of that. And if they don't have it, ask them to order them. And if you need information on them, you can go to my website, which is ninafoxx.com. That has 2 X's. And since I'm in Mexico, Dos Equis como la cerveza. So just, Dos Equis beer, 2 X's in Nina Foxx. But patronize those local booksellers if you can. Please get a copy, and if you do, go ahead and leave the review on Amazon. Really appreciate you for doing that. And Island Secrets is expected on audio shortly, so that'll be available. And Unapologetic, which is the guided journal, should be for sale shortly, even though it doesn't launch until November 15th.
Okay, well, thanks for giving us an update on all your activities. Congratulations on your new book release. And thank you for being a returning guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. You have a great night and have a safe trip and get back safely.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good night. All right, before we bring on our next guest, we're going to find out who won these books.
I'm trying. I mean, people were just throwing all kinds of stuff.
So these were the 2 that we haven't given away yet.
Yeah, well, somebody said Barack Obama, but I don't think that was one of your answers.
No, that's not. Well, that's not on the back of the book. That's were they guessing? Because I'm reading the synopsis on the back of the book, and it doesn't have Barack Obama's name.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep on going. Let's see. Jonas. Mary said Jonas.
Okay,
The third book.
that is correct.
She was gonna find herself a
Okay,
winner.
but I think, didn't you win this already, Mary? If you won one already, didn't you win this book already? Let's see. I don't know for sure. I know she wins almost a book almost every week.
Right. She
If you
probably
won
won
this
that one.
book before, then we want somebody else to win it. But if you didn't, you can win. Now, Lydia had Stacey Abrams, which is the correct answer for this
Yeah.
book about being jealous, but I don't know if she was the first one. So I would have
I
to
think she
check.
was the first one. I'm looking and I don't see any other correct answers before hers.
Okay, so Lydia,
But if I'm wrong, somebody's gonna message me because that's what
somebody
they always
will.
do.
Somebody will. Okay, so I have Lydia down for this book, and this book is for Mary, unless she won it before, in which case you don't need two copies of the same book.
Unless she
So-
wants to send one to me.
So we'll solve the mystery at the end of our next interview. And this is going to be an interesting interview because this person is joining us from Canada. Her name is Tanya Lee, and she is the founder of the Black Romance Book Club. And she decided to create the book club because there was a dearth of Black romance books available in Canada. And I just thought, I read an article about her and the book club and her efforts. And I just thought that was just really interesting and wanted to have her on the show to talk about how things are in Canada with African-American literature and so forth. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, Tanya.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, Gwen. How are you tonight?
Doing great.
And thank you for being here.
On the show.
Thank you for having me.
So you're in Hamilton, which is where, what is it close to?
It's the greater Toronto area, so it's not too far from here.
I was wondering because when I saw that there was the hunger for the African American novels, I wondered if she was in Toronto because I know there's a very large presence of Black people in Toronto.
Yes, yeah, there's over 500,000 Black people in Toronto, so it's a really diverse city.
Yes, I have to get there.
In America, we don't really think about Black people that much when we think about Canada. I know I really never thought about it until, a couple of things brought it to my mind. One was, it was a movie or it was a series. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about the people who were slaves and they were freed, but they went to Canada.
Oh,
Right.
what's it? The Book of Negroes?
Yes.
By Lawrence Hill, yes.
Right, because they made it into a movie. In fact, I met the gentleman who wrote the book when I was at the Image Awards, one of the last Image Awards where I was. He was nominated too, or the movie and the book, so he was there too. So,
Yeah.
And then I when I was on a cruise one time, I met a Black woman who was from the Caribbean. Well, her people were from the Caribbean, but she was from Canada.
Yeah.
So but a lot of the people that are Black are from the Caribbean, the ones that are in Canada.
Well, there's a lot of Black people from the Caribbean and from different African countries.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have been immigrating to Canada. The majority do come to Toronto. So but
Okay.
we have what, close to 1.4 million Black people in Canada. So not as great as the numbers that you have.
But I do think it's great that there is such a presence out there because it's making more people from the United States want to visit there because they're hearing that there's such a large presence of Black people in Canada.
Yeah.
And then I'm a Real Housewives watcher, and there was that a couple seasons ago where they featured the big carnival.
Caravana.
Yes, and they featured that, and I always wondered if there was a big influx of people wanting to go to that carnival since that was featured on Real Housewives.
Oh, it's one of the biggest festivals in North America, if not the biggest festival in North America. And a lot of people from the Caribbean participate in the carnival, and we bring in a lot of money. So like we all jump up, carnival time, carnival time.
Love it, love it, love it. So let's talk a bit about your book club, because I was reading up on it, and this is, well, I think you may have a couple of different arms going on. You do have the book club, but you also have writing workshops and you're coaching romance. So how does all of this work together?
Well, so okay, I've always loved romance novels since I was a teeny bopper. And but I started wondering, like, why do I always have to order my romance novels from the United States? So, especially, for Black romance, I'm like, I have to order them from the United States to get them in Canada. So, like, they only have a couple authors, and so I'm like, hey, what's going on? So then I started researching, and then, like, the very few Black romance writers in Canada that actually write about Black romance and Black love taking place in Canada. So if they do have Black romance writers in Canada, they write about it taking place in the United States, I guess, because your numbers are greater for Black people. So I was like, hey, but wait a second. Our experiences are just a little bit different. We have a lot of snow. You need to write about that. So you need to write about that. So I was, it really upsets people that like Canadians don't write about the Canadian experience, because they're like, it won't sell. I'm like, yes, it will. Black people will support Black people no matter where they are. They will support it, right? So let's start writing about it. So I decided to put together a Black romance book club with the main focus like on romance, and trying to get more Black people to start writing romance novels taking place in Canada. And so there'd be like a lot of romance coaching, and because I'm a certified life skills coach and my area of expertise is romance. So I wanted to do that. So coaching people like, hey, did you think about this? Or did you think about that? When you're writing a romance novel, like you actually have to go out and try to experience some of these things. You just can't write blindly, because people will know.
Right.
Right? People will know that you did not go on that date properly. That's not what really happened. Come on now. Right? Like you can't write about that and then like it didn't really happen. So so the whole idea is to like get people to experience different aspects of romance in Canada and write about it, and getting the community behind us. So the goal is to get Black editors from America to coach Black Canadians, or anyone who actually wants to write a romance novel set in Canada, to write about the experiences living in Canada. Because let me just tell you about this. So if you're Canadian, you know about Tim Hortons, okay? So, and in winter, you will walk through a snowstorm to get to Tim Hortons.
Oh my! Well, okay, now you're gonna have to let us know what Tim Hortons is.
Okay, Tim Hortons. You can get some really good coffee, and it's a Canadian franchise. So you will walk through a snowstorm to get your Tim Hortons.
That must be some good coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm a coffee drinker, so I'm going to have to go all the way to Canada so I can try it.
Yeah.
Is it the Canadian Starbucks, or is it more?
It's affordable. It's not Starbucks dollars. It's affordable.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to be able to write about going through a snowstorm to get your Tim Hortons, and then you see the love of your life doing the same thing too, and you just have to strike up a conversation in Tim Hortons. Like,
that's a story right there.
Both walking through a snowstorm to get your Timmies. So like you need to we need to have our experiences written about. So that's why I created that.
Okay, so is it a club for writers, a club for readers, or all of the above?
It's both. All of the above. Okay. All of the above. Yeah. So and the whole idea is to come together and have a really great experience together. Like so readers will give insight to writers that they didn't even think about. right? And so that's why you need readers in the book clubs talking about, well, this is how I identified with this character. This is why I like this character. This is why I like this scene, right? Or I didn't identify with this scene because blah, 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 right? And then like writers learn. That's the best way to talk to their readers. They learn what they
Well,
like.
I need you to toot your own horn a bit. So what I want to know is, have your efforts produced any new authors, any new Black Canadian authors?
No, not yet. It's a new project, but I'm
Okay.
hoping that it will produce some solid Black romance writers.
Because I would love to read them. I mean, a romance story is a romance story, but a romance story with a different experience in it is what's going to really make it interesting. So I would love to read it.
Yeah.
You have to let us know when you get your first author out of your club so we can support them.
Oh, thank you. I will do so. And it's all about like all of us supporting each other, like as Black readerships and Black writers, like supporting each other, because that's the way we get our stories out and start talking about it. Saying, did you read this author? This author was amazing.
Yes.
Right? And then people go out, and if they can't afford the book, they get it from the library. If they can't afford the book, they buy it from the bookstore. And you help authors that way. And so that I love celebrating the work of other people.
Amen to that. And you're right. I think more people need to realize you don't have to spend money to support an author. Just letting other people know about the author, sharing a Facebook post, or just so many different things, asking for the books to be in your local library. That's all support.
Yeah.
And checking them out from the library doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Library card.
And then the libraries, once they start realizing that, wait a second, this person, this author is drawing a lot of of people taking out their books. The next time that author has a book out, they're gonna buy more copies.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So how has the response been to your efforts?
It's been a little slow right now, but we expect it to pick up. It's the summertime.
Yes.
Right. So it's a little slow. So it's the summertime. So we're going to start creating workshops, having fun around that. And trying to, like I said, the goal is to get more Black Canadians writing romance novels set in Canada about the Black experience of love in Canada. So that's our goal.
Okay. Now the article I read was in the Hamilton Spectator. And how were you able to get something written about something that doesn't really exist yet, or that you're working on building?
Well, because I reached out to them and said, listen, this is what we need. And then I think they started researching and realizing, wait a second, she's right. There are no Black romance writers writing about Canada that are published, by the major industry, major publishers in the industry. There are lots that are self-published, right? And we're trying to get that changed here.
And I'm actually kind of surprised by that a little bit, only because I remember years and years ago, probably when Oprah was still big, and she had this show where she had all of these Canadian men come on, and that was some of the first times we had found the way we found out that there were so many Black men in Canada and Toronto especially. So I would have felt that, when with more of those men being featured, that there would be more romance novels, or at least more things swirling around that whole dating scene.
No, we don't have it here. I think we're just,
how some stuff is a one-off. It's just a one-time thing. And then
I did hear it that one time, but then I've heard about it so much, especially like I said, in Toronto, with there being such a Black presence there. That's why I said I was very surprised to have that it's not present. So if there are any authors watching, there is a space that needs to be filled in the literary.
A huge space that needs to be filled.
Yes.
And we need to start supporting each other's work. And a lot of people don't realize that the romance novel industry, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why wouldn't she write? It's the number one selling genre.
Right. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't, there's a lot of books released. Like a lot of the romance authors are writing 4 books a year.
Yeah.
They're constantly writing, so they have releases all the time. And so that's why, and a lot of people just want something light. I'm not a romance reader. I generally like something a little heavier than that. But I will read certain people, like you mentioned Beverly Jenkins in this article. I will read her books. And I'll read Brenda Jackson. There's some people I read, but
Yeah.
I'm not a romance reader. I have to have, like with Beverly, she has the historical angle. So, that's my thing anyway. But there's a lot of romance writers, and having this show, we met a lot of them on the show. And then when they come on the show, they'll say, I've had 80 books. I've written 80 books. And, we had no idea that they had that many books out or released.
Yes.
Amazing how many they can write, different stories. It's just about stories. So I have a question about Canada, or where you are. Now, Canada is pretty much the same as far as the weather across in your whole country.
No. Let me tell you where you don't want to visit during winter.
Okay.
Like the Arctic North.
Okay.
I've been invited, and I was like, no, thank you.
That just sounds cold.
It's gonna be cold.
Yeah, like no, thank you. You've got a few seasons that I will not attend. Like I will not go there. We have some beautiful beaches in PEI. Nova Scotia has some beautiful beaches as well. The weather is just like gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous over there. Except that in the summertime it's just so nice. Victoria, BC has magnificent weather there too. Toronto, we get like all 4 seasons. Really nice weather. My favorite month in Toronto is September. September is my favorite month.
Not too warm, not too cool.
Not too cold. Yep, just right. Like the Middle Bear, just right. So it's my favorite month. But yeah. So
I want to go to Toronto.
Yeah, come down for Carabana. Jump up, jump up.
See, you already hyped. See. What month does that take place, by the way?
August.
If I were to come.
August
Okay.
August 1st, Labor Day weekend. Not Labor Day, Civic Weekend, Emancipation Day.
Okay, so if I were to go, then I have a year to plan.
Book ahead of time. Like book your hotel.
Like now
For that time.
Now on the publishers in Canada, are there some publishers, American publishers, that also have a branch in Canada, or like the Canadian publishers? Are they large companies? This tells about the whole publishing industry.
Big five like you guys. We
Okay.
have the Canadian branches of them, and then we have
Okay.
smaller branches. Yeah, but like I said, like it's just like they're not publishing romance novels written in Canada by Black Canadians. So it's really disconcerting. So hopefully that will change, and they'll see that Black people in Canada like to read romance novels.
Yeah, a lot of times other cultures, I know the same thing was, and it still is challenging in the movie industry as well as the book industry, but Black love isn't shown as much as it should be. Let me just put it like that.
Yeah, it's true. Why don't we celebrate Black love? Like, why don't we? Well, we should just bask in the glow of Black love. But you know what? And it really upsets me that it's not celebrated as much.
It's sexualized.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it.
Yeah. Like, okay, seriously, you look at Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and
Yes.
what's not to celebrate about that? Look how much they love, admire, and respect each other. And there's so many Black couples like them
Mhm.
that are not depicted, right?
Right.
And it's a huge loss to the Black community when they're not depicted.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And I do think we need to show more Black love. We often show it in such tragic circumstances, over
Right.
sexualized or abusive. And sometimes it's just, I think that's the reason why, what was the name of that movie with Lorenz Tate? Oh my, Love Jones. I think that's why that movie was so celebrated, because it actually showed Black love in a beautiful way instead of an abusive or overly sexualized way. And I think we need to see more of that on the big screen, and it should be celebrated more.
Yeah, and we should see more of it on the Hallmark Channel too.
Yes, absolutely.
The feel good love stories. We need to see that. And it does exist. It does exist. There are
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like couples who like really admire each other and
Right.
who are so deeply in love with each other. And that's not depicted, and that's unfair. That's not just.
And that's so, oh my goodness, that is so true, that we're not getting cheated on all the time.
Yeah.
Doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a Black thing.
Yeah, I know. Like,
We don't all have 8-10 children by 20 different baby daddies.
Yeah, and not all the men are like that can.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and there are a lot of Black men that stand by their women.
Yes.
For
There
sure.
are.
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they don't, the whole, I don't know if it's willfully excluding it, or is something more involved. But a lot of times we have to show the way. We can't expect other people to do it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
We
they
have
don't
to.
really get it, and so we have to do it ourselves.
Yes, we need to get BET and other Black networks to start producing movies where you have really wonderful role models, um, who you can watch for generation to generation. Like, some movies are just so fantastic. It's all about storytelling. And
Mhm.
and start researching some of the great love stories in history and write about them.
Yeah,
Right.
I think this might not come out right, but I think you have I think
Okay,
you
go
probably
ahead
have
and say it.
more, I think you have more of a chance to see some Black love on Hallmark than you
Yeah.
the BET
Well,
channel.
BET is not Black owned. Just to put
No,
that out
it's
there.
not. It used to be,
Yes.
but
And
it
that's
got
when you would have
sold
seen
like
Black
10
love on
years
there.
ago. Uh 10 years ago, maybe. Something like that.
Viacom.
Yeah, so it's Hallmark is probably, or
Yeah,
Lifetime.
or
Lifetime.
Lifetime, yeah.
Well,
And
TV1 is right down the street. I can go knock on the door and talk to them. They actually are right down the street from me.
Now, do they do movies on TV1?
Yeah, they have movies on TV1.
But I mean, did they produce the movies themselves, or
I
they
don't know if they, well, I thought they
movies
did
that
produce
are-
movies, because there were a lot of original movies on TV1, but I don't know if they were producing them, or if they were just shopped to
showing?
TV1. So I'd have to do a little bit more research on that. But they have had original movies on TV1.
Okay.
no. And you know what? We're doing a disservice to the younger generation by not depicting really true great romance stories from Black couples.
I agree.
It's a huge disservice to the younger generation.
Mhm.
And they don't know what real romance is. They don't know what it's like to work things out and stay together through like the good and the bad times. They just don't know.
And you make a very good point. And just bringing it back to what you do, being a romance coach, is that something that you see a lot with the people who you coach?
Well,
Or
it's like what people don't understand is you have to put effort into your relationships.
yes,
Right.
If you don't work at them, what do you expect is going to
we
happen?
walk away as soon as it gets difficult, and we all go through difficulties. But I think sometimes we like to hear social media is running our relationships.
Yeah, and our people need to get off their phones and talk to each other.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know, to get off your device and look the person that you're with in the eye and talk.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, like, and it's also good to have friends outside of your relationship, like that you hang out with. So when you come home, you have something interesting to talk to your partner about other than just work, right?
Yes,
Yeah, you know, like, can you imagine what Brenda did? And then you just have like a nice conversation about that, or like he's like, "Did you know what Dave did? No wonder his wife is mad at him." Right? And then you have this like great conversation going, and or you know, to participate in different activities and come home and talk about it. But you also have to participate in activities as a couple and have fun
Together.
doing that too. It's
And it has to be intentional.
yeah, it does. Right. And I think the phones are the biggest distractions ever in a relationship. It's just like having, it's like people taking their laptop to bed to do their work. Right. Like it's terrible. You never do that. Like you never do that. Your bed's supposed to be relaxation. That's your sanctuary. Why are you taking your laptop into your bedroom?
I'm guilty.
And I can say that, well, we only had one room because we were sharing a hotel where we were, but the laptop was on the bed and she was working night and day, night and morning. She was. But she said if her laptop isn't with her, that means if the laptop is gone, she's gone. If the laptop is there, she's there.
Yeah. Well, we are unfortunately running out of time. But we did talk a lot about the Black Romance Book Club. And I think we talked around your A Room of Their Own book club.
Oh, that's a national book club for teen girls that I have in Canada for at-risk teen girls. So let me just tell you briefly what makes it special is that I get sponsors to buy the books for the teen girls.
Wow.
They meet the authors. Now we're going back in person since the pandemic. This is the first time we're going to meet in 3 years in person. And they get to talk to the author about what they've read. They get their books autographed, which is so wonderful. And we did meet Michelle Obama.
Wow.
Oh, okay. In person or on Zoom?
In person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and that's amazing because that's having two young girls herself. That's her platform. Always talking to young girls. So I know that was an amazing conversation.
Yeah, she treated each and every single one of those young women like they were queens, like
Beautiful.
they had their own queendom, and they will never forget that.
Right. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. You have really given us some insights into Canadian
I
life.
enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thank you. I think this is the most fun I've ever had on an interview. So remember,
we like hearing that.
Yeah. So remember, when you come to Canada, bring your books with you for Caravana. And when you're not jumping up, you're in the hotel reading to relax. And then you come back out and you jump up. And then you go back to the room and relax.
Girl, we're going to have to stay in touch. I'm going to email you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
All right. Have a great evening.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. I need to make sure I got who won this book?
They never came back and said, so I'm thinking it's gonna be Mary.
Was it Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she never did say if she, oh, Yolanda Gore said that Hallmark has a new Mahogany channel.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, they are showing more Black movies though, and that's good.
Yeah, they are. So, okay. So, we're moving right along. And our final guest for tonight is George, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I want to say Passewe, but he'll tell us if it's correct or not.
Passewe.
Passewe? You think it's
I don't know.
Passewe?
I'm guessing. I'm figuring we both guess, and then when he comes
Okay.
on and he corrects
He'll
both of
tell
us.
Okay. He has a book. Well, he has two books, but his latest book is about his work in his fraternity, which is Alpha Phi Alpha. And he wrote a book about why someone would want to be an alpha, a child. So it's what is it? One day I will become an alpha. That's the name. Now, as a disclaimer, I am not Greek, and so I don't have any preferences on organizations other than my daughter is a Zeta, and I support her with her efforts. But I'm not Greek. But
I am a Zeta, so yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this.
Zeta. And so. But welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, George. Now, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's pronounced Passewe.
Passewe. Okay. Is that what you said, Ron?
I was close. I said Passewe, so it's Passewe.
Okay. The accent is on the first syllable.
Yeah, it has some West African origins.
Okay. That's what I said before you came on. I figured that was the case. So, because it's it's unusual. It's not an Americanized name. So, yeah. Well, thank you for being a guest. And why did you write a book? Now, I've seen some other books about the Divine Nine that people have written, different people. But I just thought it'd be interesting to have someone on, because I don't think we ever had anybody on that talked about a children's book that was from one of the Divine Nine. We've had HBCU guests, a couple of them that wrote books for children about HBCUs in general, but we haven't had one come on about the Divine Nine. So obviously you are an alpha, I assume. Otherwise you would never in the book. So why did you write the book? What message do you want to send to young men? Because it is a fraternity. So what message did you want to send to young men about becoming an alpha?
Yeah, first of all, ladies, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, so the book there, One Day I'll Become an Alpha. This book here, the green screen blocking it off.
You have to put it right in front of you because you're
right in front of your face. Yeah, okay, that's better.
A little better.
We're still getting the Golden Gate Bridge back there, but
But yeah, so this book, One Day I Become an Alpha, it's the first recognized children's book of my dear Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The inspiration behind this is a couple of things. One, the whole purpose of the book is to stimulate interest in the youth and to give them a glimpse of what the future may hold for them as members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So the books go through our mission, our vision, and give them a glimpse of what Alpha is really about, more like than strolling and all that. It talks about service, brotherhood, goodwill. Another aim of this book is to essentially to increase the numbers of membership within our fraternity long term. And I figured a good way to do this is to target the youth at a young age, expose them to Alpha Phi Alpha, and expose them to not just Alpha Phi Alpha, but positive Black men who are doing great things in society. This book also is important because when you see the characters are Black characters, and it's so important for our children to see themselves in books. It gives them the inspiration that, hey, if this one person can do it, it can be seen in this space, so can I. But those were the three main points. And for me, the vision came for this book when I came across this, it was a phrase. It says, don't chase money, chase problems, right? Present solutions to those problems. And that quote had been really resonating with me for a while now. So things that I do, the different books that I've published, I recognize a problem. And the problem would be what is missing, what hasn't been, introduced yet. So once I figured that, hey, what was missing within the fraternity was that there wasn't no children's book. And once I identified that gap, I'm like, the best way to fill it is to be this person to bring forth this children's book. And that's pretty much the inspiration, the purpose, and the aims behind this book.
Well, I would say, first of all, I love the book. I remember when the book was first released. I mean, we were talking about it, so I'm loving what you're doing with it. And I love the fact that you have decided to use this book to show strong African-American male figures in this case. And what I'm wondering in the book, I know you're not just talking about the stepping aspect, but how do you feature the brotherhood, the community service, and so forth? How is all of that incorporated in your book?
Yeah. So how that is incorporated is we're sharing. So pretty much the book, give a quick synopsis, is about this little boy named Eugene. Eugene grows up emulating his father. And throughout the book, his father is giving him life lessons and instilling those alpha morals and values within it about what service looks like, what brotherhood looks like, and what so much other things look like when it comes to advocating for your communities and providing service. So it's in this story where he gets a glimpse and his dad is sharing, okay, this is what we do, this we're about, and give him more into that. So this book is not limited to or just for young boys or if for Greeks. It's literally for everyone, just to get an idea of the great things that Black males are doing. It's important that we continue to uplift Black males in such a positive light. And again, to go back to how important representation is.
Love it.
What age group is the book targeting?
So this book is I have two main target audience. One is for Brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, because within this children's book, it's really not just for children, because there are some elements that only alphas will recognize going through it, right? It's some really some esoteric things that just alphas will recognize. So it's for them too, but it's also for the age group. I would say anywhere between 0 to like 16 is for them. Within those infinite age, it could be the parent reading or guardian reading to them. And then once the child gets to develop, the words and how to read, they can read on their own. But it's a really wide range of age range for this book, this target.
Okay. Well, what's been the response from your fellow alpha men?
Absolutely love it. When I shared this vision with the fraternity, so this was a 2-year-long project. The idea came in 2020, and at that time, I had reached out to the headquarters. At the time, it was a different president. It was President Everett B. Ward. He approved it, and then when 2021, when it was published and illustrated, we had a new president now, Brother Lonzer. Absolutely love it. The brotherhood, absolutely love it. And I have so many parents just come to me and say how this book has really just inspired their young boys. How it's given this image of how a Black man should carry himself, how they should dedicate themselves to family and things of that much. But it's been really, really positive feedback from this book.
So are you finding that I believe you also have youth auxiliaries within Alpha Phi Alpha, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, do you find that many of your youth auxiliaries are reading the book as well?
Yeah, so we've been targeting some our initiatives, like some of the Our Brother's Keeper and some programs we do for the youth. We're talking to them now, and right now, so this book was launched 2 months ago. So right now, it's still making its ways, but we are really intentional about getting to those like youth organizations, especially some of the programs that we're chartering and sharing out there as well.
Nice.
How many alpha men are there worldwide?
Worldwide, we're about a little bit under 250,000 people, 2,500 members strong, in nationwide and internationally. So it's a wide range of brothers we have here.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Now, I know you have more than one book, but was this the first book and that birthed the company, or was it the other way around?
Neither one. So my first book was a children's book. Again, sorry about the green screen. Oh, I think I
Oh,
got
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
Uh-huh.
is my first one, Lila's World. This book is about my daughter Lila. So when
Aw.
she was about to turn a year old, I was thinking, what can I do that hasn't been done yet? Because 1 year birthdays kind of get played out. We do the same thing. I want it to be super unique and something where it can last on forever. So I'm like, the idea came with doing a college fundraiser for a book. So in the book is literally about Lila's initial, birth into this world and her milestones and her daily activities in this whole storyline. And all proceeds of Lila's World goes directly towards her college education. So that was my first children's book publication and publication at that. After I written Lila's World, my next one was the book which I'm best known for. It's my best-selling book titled How Black College Students Learn Code Switching. This book is being utilized at 34 different higher education institutions across the nation. It's far east, far west, south, Midwest. But the whole purpose of the book, it was birthed through a research that I did back in 2015 through the Ronald E. McNair Scholars Program. So I conducted a research study on code switching because what code switching is, firstly, is the practice of one adjusting their style of speech, their appearance, their behavior or expression to a particular context or situation, right? Something that we're all familiar with, especially people of color. How we navigate ourselves between informal and formal settings, it changes. So while doing research, I identified a gap in the research of code switching. And the gap to identify was a lot of researchers talked about what code switching is, some of the gender difference in code switching, so much more, but no one actually talked about how code switching was actually learned. So once I identified that gap, I addressed it in my research study. And through my research study, I found that code switching is learned through three main ways. The first way is through instruction. So this happened at a very young age where either their parent or guardian or teacher, taught them how to navigate certain spaces, what to say, what not to say in public, and pretty much stuff like that. And the second way is through observation. So this happened, my research participants reported that once they got to a PWI campus, they observed either the social group they wanted to code switch to, that linguistic community. They took mental notes of how they interacted, what cues they used, and they took mental notes and implemented that when they interacted with them. That leads into my third part of how code switching is learned. It's learned through interaction. So actually interacting with someone, seeing what's understood, seeing what's not, and just learning from one another that way. And I have a forthcoming book titled Grant Me Serenity. It's about my other daughter who's about to turn 1 tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, she's going to turn 1 tomorrow. Is awesome. It's about her, similar to Lila's World, about her milestones and how she went about going it, but it's in a cool, different story line as well. So it's
What's
I
her
have
name,
5
Serenity?
publications. What'd you say?
Is her name Serenity?
Serenity, it is.
Okay.
beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful. Well, first of all, I need to read the code switching book. I've told a few people on this show that my doctorate, or I have a doctorate, and my dissertation was on the myth of the angry Black woman syndrome.
Yeah.
And part of my research was basically about code switching and how women feel like they have to put on a certain face when they're at work, so they're not accused of being an angry Black woman or not accused of having an attitude. So I'm very interested in reading that book because Black or white, many of us go, or excuse me, I don't mean Black or white, but I mean as men or women, we actually go through that where we feel like we have to be one way when we're in a professional setting and an entirely different way when we're around other people. And then I was very interested in what you said earlier about how we're told to act a certain way. And I think many of us growing up went through that. When we get around these white folks, don't do this, don't do that. Or when you get around these white folks, make sure you speak proper, make sure you do this or that. And then we learn basically code switching at such a young age. So I was very interested in what you said there.
Yeah, you spot on, because code switching is a human thing. It's something that every human do. And with the work that I do, that's just my research part. With the book, everything I do is really DEI focused on code switching. And here's how it gets DEI focused, because through my research, when I found out how code switching is learned, I learned that my research participants shared some adverse effects of code switching. They said, yeah, they recognized that there was some good of it, but they recognized the downside of it too. And then it made me think like, okay, what are some of these downsides? So I'll focus on the more of the adverse effects as well. So with my book is saying this, here's what code switching is. Here's the 3 ways it's learned that I found through my research study. And here's this, and I'm in higher education institution space, like, and here's super clean and transparent because I have a deep passion for the DEI work. So it's, hey, students and staff of color are code switching. However, people code switch, right, to probably avoid some negative stereotypes or, navigate certain space effectively. But they found out that code switching is not enough to overcome racism. They're code switching, but they're still experiencing the prejudice, the racism, the discrimination. Then it gets like, what the heck, then what's the even point of us even code switching? And now when I identify this, I'm like, okay, boom, I'm gonna make this aware to higher education institutions. And now let's share strategies on what we can do to make our spaces more welcoming, more inclusive, where people are encouraged and supportive to show up as their true authentic self. So I share strategies on how they can really, achieve that and pretty much minimize help, people of color and staff of color, minimize the uses of code switching and just be their true authentic selves.
Okay. Now I have a question. Code switching can also occur within the same within Black culture in different settings among different communities or different neighborhoods, or my daughter went to an HBCU, for example, and there was still some code switching she had to do even as an HBCU student, because not everybody is the same, and so you have to be able to get along with everyone, and sometimes that requires you to change it temporarily.
You raised an interesting point too about that, because when you think about it, if you look at code switching, because again, it's the practice of adjusting speech, language, appearance. So it's not just language, but when we look at it in the linguistic lens, especially when it comes to the Black culture, the either like Ebonics or slang, however the term is different between different regions. It's different between different cities. Like the way Blacks communicate in Milwaukee, where I'm at, is much different than Blacks in Chicago and Dallas. And so when you get into different spaces, you're gonna get to code switching that linguistic side. You try to see what you adapt to that linguistic space. So it's definitely really interesting.
Oh yeah, we do see it quite a bit, and then often it's kind of the other way around as well, where we feel that when we're around Black people, we have to prove our Blackness, so to speak. So we start to speak a little differently. When growing up, I was always told I talk funny, you speak too proper. So I had to learn to kind of code switch so I could stop getting made fun of.
Yeah.
So we all see it in different ways, and it's sad, and it can be confusing for some people, and some people may find themselves kind of losing themselves because they're not sure what way is the appropriate way to act in certain instances.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, in my book and the research, I recognize exactly what you said. They can end up losing themselves. And in the book, I shared that when you develop a strong self concept of code switching, you're able to really take on a more deliberate approach. And here's what I mean. When it comes about self-concept, it's how you view yourself when code switching and how you believe others perceive you. In the book, I share there's some strategies on how to develop a strong concept. One, people need to know how to code switch on their own terms, right? Because when you think about it, when they code switch, they're changing, one set, they're probably changing up their speech, their appearance and behavior. Like, no, you need to be like, okay, I'm going in this particular setting. Okay, I may change up my attire, get a little professional, but I'm not going to compromise language. I'm not going to compromise hair or da-da-da-da.
Yes.
You need to be very intentional about how you're doing it. Next, you develop your philosophy of it, like meaning you need to know when and where you do it. You need to be very cognizant of that. You need to know why you're doing it, your goals of even code switching. Also, you need to know that you need to code switch on your own terms and for the right reasons. I found in my research that I share in my book that if you're code switching not on your own terms and for the wrong reason, you should stop doing it. You should stop, because you're going to experience those adverse effects. You're going to experience the imposter syndrome, and it's just a rolling curve a cycle. And then I share how to use code switching to celebrate your cultural identity. When you think about it, when we code switch, we kind of switch it to like suppress, but let's think different. Let's switch it to bring out. Let's code switch, and how we change our attire to look more professional. We can add some cultural touches to it. Like I can have a cultural tie, with the black, green, and however it is.
Mhm.
But it's really, really important for us to really take on this intentional approach. And it's all shared in this book. And my goal is to really, share with institutions this burden that their students and staff of color are facing when navigating these predominantly white spaces.
I love it. And like I said, I'm very interested, and I will be getting this book because it goes along with my own research. And anytime that you can open the conversation, which is what I believe your book is doing, I think that's good, and it really opens more people's eyes, especially when they're about to go into these business settings. And the fact that your book is in so many institutions of higher education, you're preparing these kids at an early age to get ready to go into these professional work environments.
Yeah, well said. And full time, I am a diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer. So I travel the nation along. I use my book as my research as my guided principle as I go doing this DI work. But that's my full time job, and I render these diversity, equity, inclusion trainings to different both higher education institutions and corporations nationwide. So if anyone out there, probably in the higher ed space or, have a corporation that needs DI work, let me know.
I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, now we only have a few minutes left. So I did want to talk about, it goes by so quick, but I did want to also talk about your company,
Yes.
your publishing company, and how did you come about putting it together? Are you publishing anybody else? So get the floor.
Yeah, of course. So again, I have a passion for DEI, so work. So everything I really do is in that lens. So I created a self-publishing company called Educare Publications. With Educare Publications, we integrate our publishing service into classroom and workplace settings, meaning we're teaching high school students and college students how to publish. We have a program called the Creative Writing Publishing Program. It's a 15-week program where by the end of this program, these high school and college students have their published books in their hands. So we're teaching them how to write, we're teaching them how to publish, and we're doing all this for them. And when it comes to the workplace setting, we're hitting like daycare providers, corporations, and things of that sort. Like, hey, here's how to publish, something internally just for people that's coming in, whatever, a short pamphlet, booklet, or even with daycare, it's like, here's a children's, you can teach them how to create their own children's book for like the daycare people that they serve or for their staff. So, it's really, really an awesome program. But the whole purpose, I see the value that every child needs to see themselves in books. And the other goal is to really to diversify the publishing industry, because I recognize that there's a diversity gap within the self-publishing industry. There's not a lot of people of color authors, and there's not a lot of Black authors. So I figured out I'm gonna create this platform where we're bridging that gap. We're teaching them how to publish in the most simplest ways possible, because we all know the publishing process can be very confusing. And we are like, hey, we know this is confusing, but it doesn't have to be that way. And here's how. So we offer e-courses. We have a self-publishing academy where it's like a e-course format where you go through different modules and chapters, and it has assignments to really propel aspiring writers and authors to publish their books within a record time. And lastly, for this company, I have created programs and workshops where we just celebrate diverse books and voices, and we also support diverse publishing professionals. And we do so by we offer scholarships. We have a program called the Elevate Diverse Voices Scholarships. We offer scholarships to college students who have some type of aspiration in writing books, and their money is used just for their college expense. And we have another program called Educare Publications in the Classroom. And I really enjoy this program because what we do with this program here is that we find diverse books. So we go through different libraries or bookstores, find diverse books, and then we send it to low income and rural schools so they can have those diverse books and diversify their library.
Awesome. Well, it's like you're doing a lot of stuff.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm a busy man.
I'm about to say, how do you have time for all of this?
Yeah, you got kids.
Yeah, carry on the top.
When you're doing your publication service where you have people publishing, who's the client? Is the client the institution, the company itself hires you, or the institution hires you to help the people in their network or in their company publish their books? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, so we do our outreach. We hit up different institutions that have like creative writing programs or any writing programs to see if they're interested. But yeah, so the institutions either book us, whether it's higher ed or high school, or different companies, whether like a daycare. We see a lot of daycares, come through and get the work done, and other corporations. But I really want to target higher education in the more academic side, because self-publish is an easy way for professors to really get their content in their kids' hands, because you have this wealth of knowledge. Just share this wealth and boom, you can use it within the classroom setting. And this is a great way to continue to build your brand. So those are our target audiences.
Okay. So well, you're based in Milwaukee, is that right?
Yes, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. All right. Well, you got the Golden Gate Bridge behind you. It looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why.
I'm ready for vacation.
I don't know why you repping San Francisco.
Clearly, I'm ready for vacation. So.
Well, I was just going to ask now. In a couple of minutes we have left, how can people get involved with what you're doing, or are you publishing anybody else, or if somebody else has something that kind of fits within your platform, are they able to contact you? How does that work?
Yeah, so we are an online bookstore as well. So if anyone wants to utilize our space to have their books on there and we sell it, that's definitely an option. Another thing is we have these e-courses. If you're ready to get published, purchase the e-course, go through it, and the rest we help you out to turn your publishing dreams pretty much into reality. So yeah, those are the ways you can connect with us to get your book in your hands.
Awesome sauce.
Okay. Well, George Passewe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like pass away,
Yeah.
Imagine middle school with that last name.
I know.
Baby.
It was great.
Let people know you put the website in the chat, Rhonda.
Yes, his website is in the chat, as well as the book One Day I Will Become an Alpha. That's all. The link to that is also in the book or in the chat.
And then your students learn code switching.
And your mama said that she's so proud of her baby. And great interview, dear son. Oh,
so cute. Thank you, Mama.
Always count on mom. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV, George, and continued success with all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, your time and space on today.
Congratulations. I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, you have a restful evening.
Okay, you too.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay, well, that's our show for this week. I wanted to remind people about the National Black Book Festival, which is rapidly approaching. And we will be in person this year from October 20th through the 22nd in Houston, where we always are. And we're very excited about everything that's going to be happening. We're going to be uploading the hour by hour schedule in a week or so. So it'll be on the website where, because right now you can see the parts of what's going on, but we're going to have the hour by hour schedule posted in a week or so you can take a look and see which things you want to attend. And we want you all to be there. So
Lydia wants to know who won.
Who won? Lydia, you won guys, being jealous. This is the one you
Yes.
want, Lydia. But the one that I think Mary won the.
Yeah, Mary won that. Okay, Mary just said great show. So ask her if she
Okay,
won. If she
Mary,
won that book.
Since you're watching, did you already win a copy of this book? We don't want you to have 2 copies. And if you did, we'll have to make a correction next week. Let me put it like that. 'Cause we're at 9 o'clock and it's time to go. So we will see you next Tuesday on Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Wynn Richardson signing off for tonight.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a good evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.